you guys. This is the Alright, what is going on with this stupid thing? Alright. What's going on, guys? This is DHR2. Welcome to my video. So we're gonna be doing live version of my reaction to Jeff Laverty's painting a Godzilla sketch card. You guys know I love Godzilla. He's one of my favorite creatures coming from Japan. Um, if you ever notice how um, Kuryu Sentai, Ranger, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers have gotten their inspiration from Godzilla, especially when it came to Dragon Zord and Dragon Caesar. Um, it took inspiration from Godzilla himself. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna so I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna discuss how it looks, and we're gonna discuss my future plans for my channel. If you guys want me to do more art videos, let me know in the comments below. So, without further ado, let's let's enjoy the video.
Hey guys, time for another video. Jeff Lafferty here, and today I'm going to be painting this Godzilla card, and this one's going to be all about texture. As you can see, there's like a ton of texture on this card, so let's get started. See, before I get going too much though, I wanted to say that this was actually commissioned for a guy named Dan, and his screen name is Challenger 2008 on DeviantArt. I just want to mention that because he's a great artist, and you guys should all go and check out his work and just say hi. So this one started out pretty much the same way as they all do, a very detailed drawing. Once I got to the painting stage, I had this idea to build up the fire with texture, use an impasto technique, and really bring out this frenetic energy and craziness that is fire. I used something called a hot mud. It's a quick setting joint compound. It's kind of like plaster, but it's sort of like the modern non-toxic version of plaster and not as hard as plaster. People use it in construction and building to tape joints on sheetrock and patch walls, that sort of thing. One trick I use is I actually add some gesso to the mix. Instead of 100% water, I add about half of it being gesso. And this is because the drywall mud can actually be pretty soft.
I thought your mouse was looking pretty
nasty. If I'm not careful,
nasty.
I can dig it up with my colored pencils. And if you're just painting on the surface, it would probably be fine. But, you know, I'm drawing on it. I'm erasing and scratching and doing all sorts of rough stuff to it. So the gesso really helps to just make it very resilient. I lay it in pretty thick. Even though it's mud, it shrinks back a little bit. On a side note, you know, if you ever use this stuff yourself and you're done with it, wipe it out and just throw the whole thing in the trash. Don't wash it down your sink. You can definitely clog up your pipes, and that goes for plaster too. I use a little space heater to help cure the stuff out. Leave it on the bathroom floor a couple hours and it gets super hard. Once it's dry, I go after it with some sandpaper, and this is another reason I like to use gesso in this mix, because, you know, if you use,
I like that. I know what you're talking
normal
about.
acrylic paint, you actually can't sand it.
This is also a little bit similar to my Power Rangers drawings, because I've always liked to use different brands and markers, color pencils, and I use a lot of paint and oil just to make sure I throw all of that together and create something like a masterpiece. You know, can nobody do it like me, but what I can do is teach you guys how do I do my stuff in the future. So that's what I'm basically looking forward to. I'm gonna do it live tomorrow, coming from church. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna be doing that. So just seeing that the way he does it, it kind of makes sense when it comes to using paint and details and all that. So if anybody can make it work, it's definitely this guy.
Won't sand down, it'll just kind of ball up and that and whatnot. But with drywall mud, it's very sandable. Also, gesso is very sandable. You know, if you gesso just a panel or canvas, you can actually sand it down to a bare spot again if you want to. This time I also kind of came in and I chipped it and I cracked it, you know, with the back of a colored pencil I'm using here. And I was just trying to mimic that violent effect of fire. Once I got it looking the way I want it, I actually gessoed over it one more time. That just toughens it up, seals it up, makes it so
Yeah, I
nothing's
can't wait
going
to
to
see it too, Brandon.
come up once I start going on it. Then I started in with the black and white color pencils. This, you know, was just trying to get it back to kind of fit into the piece again. You know, the gesso and the mud is very stark right now. It doesn't really look like it's part of the piece. You know, and I just started scribbling all over and just sort of working it back in and making it look like it's supposed to be there. At one point, I also painted the whole thing black, and then I took a soft cloth and very gently wiped the surface
Just to smooth that out,
and left it in the
so you can
cracks
add
and
the
the little
yellow
nooks
and
and
orange to
holes and all
create
that kind of
fire.
stuff. And that sort of just
I think I know where
accentuated the
this is
3D
going.
qualities that I have going here. Um, and before I finished the fire, I felt like I needed to go back and finish Godzilla because I wanted him sort of wrapped up in this kind of glowy effect of the fire. It kind of brings up a good point. I feel like a background and a
Oh,
foreground
I
need to
thought it
work
was this
together,
year.
and that's one of the reasons I don't really hold to any kind of specific theory about you need to paint the background before the foreground or the foreground before the background. And you know, when you read art books, I've read it a lot of times, and I disagree with it because I feel like, you know, no matter even if you're painting different colors.
We're right back, guys. Hold on. It's kind of similar to what he's actually talking about. Um, I happen to have the I happen to have the American manga tutorial art book. So it's basically like you're drawing anime characters, doing it in the American version. Um, my grandfather gave this to me back in 2008 for Christmas, and I've always wanted to know how do I draw these comic book characters. And for some reason, after learning from this, I've kind of gotten better over the years, but I've never really liked to draw the basic shapes, like um, making it more difficult to get through because I used to think that it's a waste of time. You know, I I just went with drawing the lines, and what it actually taught me as an artist to always draw the basic shapes, like you drawing the head and you drawing the body torso. It's not really a comic book, Brandon. It's actually a the basics. It's like a tutorial of how to draw comic books. I mean comics actually. So this is like your tutorial, you know, of what it looks like, the different angles and like see what the head looks like. You know, your basic shapes starts with the circle, then you draw the lines down across, so you'll be able to catch the eyes, the nose and mouth and everything. So that's basically what I've learned out of this book. Then years later, when I discovered ZHC and AKA ZH Comic Art, that was his original comic book name on YouTube, but his real name is Zach Azia. So go check him out. I discovered him well, how does he draw Spider Man, and ever since he's uploading more videos on now I have more respect for him. So just seeing him and this video of what he was actually talking about. I have two Godzilla movies. I got The Final Wars and American Godzilla. All right. So let's get back to the video.
Different tones, warm colors on cool colors, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The elements need to work harmoniously together. They need to be part of like one scene in one picture. Everything needs to work together. So it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter which one you paint first. Like with this piece, I decided to paint a rim light around Godzilla. And, that was partially to kind of give him that radioactive look. But, the other part of it was just to kind of pop him back out. Because even though, sort of he's enveloped in this kind of glowy effect with the fire, I still wanted him to stand out and be the main focus of the piece. So as far as actually painting on Godzilla,
You want to know what's odd? Just the way that he was. It's the way that these professional artists that do traditional work at best. The way that they sharpen their pencils by using a knife, by stroking from thin up to all the way to the end. I've never done that because when I was using the Stetler's pencils, I had to use a knife just to sharpen the lead to make sure it's basically all the way sharpened, so I can keep my edges more sharpened and thin. But when I got the Stetler um, pencil sharpener for the mechanical Stetler pencil, and when I first started using it, it became very easy for me to get my pictures to come out nice with extra details because it allowed me to get my well, it allowed me to get better control and emotion when it comes to me drawing. And and you have to be careful doing this too, you guys, because this is not a cheap art product. It's very expensive. So I took my time with it. I did not rush anything whatsoever. And the more I drew things with it, the better I became as an artist. I still have a lot of room to grow, but in time when I do get better, I'm gonna let you guys know what I'm talking about.
he reminded me a lot of like the last piece I did with Chewbacca and all the hair. He's a lot of detail and a lot of confusing detail. Tough to find a reference point, when you're in the middle of all of the scales and stuff, and you gotta just kind of keep going and get through it. I don't want to make it sound like it was a complete slog, though. It was actually a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
really
man.
enjoyed the creative
It's never too late.
stuff that I did with this piece. And plus, me and Tristan got to catch up on our Godzilla films, so hey,
The
can't
90s
beat that.
one. Aw.
So that's what I
See what I'm talking
came
about?
out with. Hopefully, the camera is focusing on that card. And yeah, I really like this piece. I can't wait to make some prints of it. Thanks again, Dan. And thank you for watching my videos. I appreciate that endlessly. If you guys got any comments or questions,
Um, I think one of these days I'm gonna start doing more Power Ranger stuff because I grew up with the franchise. I love Beast Morphers. Hasbro has been killing it lately. That picture kind of looks like Godzilla. It is. Well, now that you think about it, it kind of does look like Godzilla 2000 though. But like I said, it's the way the artists are using their creative techniques and different styles of using. What is it? That doesn't come out right. Artists, a lot of different artists have been using different styles of drawing creatures, characters from popular franchises, and you turning them into something unique and special. And when I've been doing with my ranger work, that's what I'm basically known for, according to my family. I barely do any other stuff, but I'm willing to try. But to me, I'm trying to make Power Rangers more cool, not childish, cheesy, and campy and corny. Because I'm trying to make Power Rangers work, based on the way I draw my characters. Realism and cartoonings, I can do both. Once I study and watch other videos, and read the history between realism and cartoons, I could definitely would love to do something different with my work. I've always posted on social media, so you guys need to go follow me on Instagram right now, because that's where I post most of my artwork on. And I follow most comic book artists, YouTube artists as well. That have me commenting on my stuff. I commented on their stuff, and it's really worth the wait. So that piece he just did, guys, is the prime example of how to do your best work, and it works. So, like I said, for me, I do mine differently. I use Sharpie markers. I use Crayola, Prisma, other brands, cheap brands, and I use graphite to work with the dark colors, mid to light, and I use. I also like to use. Have you heard of Earth Godzilla? That one of the most horrible versions of Godzilla. What are you talking about like that? Are you talking about the anime, or are you talking about the movie or the cartoon? So I like to use folk art paint. I just basically use this for details, not to just paint the whole background. So, and I have to go, guys. There's another stream going on YouTube. So hopefully y'all enjoy this one, and I'll catch you later.